They tore through galaxies like a wildfire, merciless, undefeated, convinced they were gods. They called us primitive, said we had no fight, no teeth. Until they noticed something strange. In every room, in every transport, every time, humans always sat in the back. And when they found out why, oh, it was already too late. They arrived in orbit with gold-plated dreadnoughts the size of mountains, cities dangling from their hulls like ornaments. We didn't even resist. What was the point? Their weapons melted steel from orbit, their infantry could punch through tanks, and their ships swallowed continents in shadow. Every world they took, they gave the same speech. We are your better. Bow and you may serve. Most did. Earth was no different. Our leaders signed the treaties, bent the knee, and smiled for the broadcasts. The Conquerors never understood that humans don't always show defiance in words. We waited. We watched. They threw us in the lowest jobs, janitors, food preppers, status scrubs. The back rows of shuttles. The rear seats in meetings. Always the back. We didn't argue. We didn't ask why. We just nodded and let them think we liked it there. To them, humans were docile, dull-eyed things. Pet-worthy. They'd stroke our heads like dogs, say, "Good human," and move on. I worked in waste processing on Arc-12, one of their orbital citadels. It stank of ammonia and condensation. But from the back of that waste chute station, I saw everything. The guards' patterns. The power drops. Which vents led where. The way they blinked sideways when they lied. We never needed to fight them head-on. That was their mistake. Conquerors think battles are won with fire. But humans? We win them in the dark. In silence. In patience. And when we strike, we don't roar. We smile. It started small. One of ours reprogrammed a lift system. A Conqueror official vanished between floors. Another adjusted food filtration. 4 of them choked in their own sleep cycles. They called it accidents. Random malfunctions. They didn't know what it was like to be underestimated. But we did. Every time they saw a human in the back, they laughed. But they never asked why we sat there. Never thought to. And when the body count rose and the panic began to ripple through their ranks like a sickness, it was already too late. We weren't in the back because we were afraid. We were in the back because we were watching. Because every predator underestimates the prey that waits in silence. And now the back rows got the detonator. They couldn't believe it at first. The idea that humans were behind the accidents? Unthinkable. We were small, frail, too emotional, too unpredictable, they said. The Conquerors had studied our biology, dissected our culture, scanned our entire digital history. They thought they knew us. But they didn't read between the lines. Didn't understand how many revolutions were born in the back of the room, behind closed doors, in whispers. We were nothing to them until their systems started to fail and their people started to die. That's when they built the first suspicion pods, these floating interrogation chambers with psychic nodes and truth-seeking parasites. They picked off a few of us, wrong ones, innocents. That was their second mistake. Every time they tortured a bystander, they created 5 more saboteurs. We never had one leader, no single point of failure. Our rebellion wasn't built on orders. It was built on understanding. A look across the hall. A tilt of the head. A pause before pressing the elevator button. That's all it took. Because in the back, we saw how everything worked. We watched their engineers type in passwords. We studied the way their food synthesis operated. We saw how they stacked weapons. How the locks were biometric, but not smart enough to read adrenaline-spiked fingerprints. We had cleaners in the central AI hub, medics in their stasis vaults, janitors who could access hull integrity files. We weren't fighting their empire. We were rewriting it, from the foundation up. The Conquerors started locking doors, tracing signals, separating human workers. They thought that would stop us. But it only made us faster, smarter, angrier. I watched a 19-year-old girl reroute oxygen from an entire floor just by holding a mop and humming. Saw a boy in a cafeteria coat disable a neural stun grid with a paperclip and some soup. The back rows were on fire. And they still didn't see it. They called it a phase. A flicker. Said we were just scared animals reacting to pressure. But animals don't map an entire station's electrical grid with chewing gum wrappers. Animals don't fake their own executions, sneak into alien command decks, and reroute starship fleets with 3 keystrokes and a stolen ID. They thought sitting in the back meant weakness.
No.
It meant range. It meant we could see all the exits, all the patterns, all the targets. There was a phrase we started passing around: make them come to the back. And when they did, when they finally walked back there to see what we were doing, we were already gone. Gone and in control. What they found instead was a gift. A message scratched into the wall of a vacant human dorm. 5 words. You never saw us coming. By the 3rd month, the Conquerors weren't laughing anymore. No more pats on the head. No more good human. They walked with escorts now, guns drawn, sensors scanning. Whole districts were cordoned off. They called it containment. We called it confirmation. They finally knew they had a problem, but they still didn't know what it was. They tried to force us into the open. Public scans, emotional pressure interrogations, sleep cycle disruptions. They stopped letting us work in pairs. Pulled our families into observation zones. When that didn't work, they declared a new protocol: human optimization. A lie dressed in policy. What it meant was re-education. What it meant was beatings, starvation, exposure to psychic dampeners. The problem was every time they dragged someone out, someone from the back row, they came back changed. And I don't mean broken. I mean focused. Like something had snapped into place. Like pain was a language, and we finally understood the grammar. You can only push people so far before they start sharpening the pain into a weapon. And that's what we did. Their ships were massive, yes, but bloated with blind spots. Their security was high-tech but arrogant. They never imagined a slave would smuggle acid in a water pouch, or that a janitor would memorize airlock schedules, or that a technician could play dumb for years just to fry a fusion relay at the exact second it overloaded half their fleet. One by one, we started pulling them apart. Not with armies. With precision. We didn't bomb their facilities. We made their own systems do it. We didn't kill their officers. We made their own medics dose them with poison they designed themselves. They were loud. Loud in their anger. Loud in their fear. But fear makes you sloppy. And loud makes you easy. They posted new rules. No humans near control decks. No humans near navigation. No humans near food distribution, air filtration, medical supply. Problem was, we were already in. We were everywhere. The more they tried to isolate us, the more we used it. Paranoia cracked their command chain. One admiral executed another on live feed, screaming about human ghosts. Their AI flagged him for delusion, but the others started listening. Because they had seen the signs. They had seen doors open on their own. Systems reroute. Lights flicker. Human voices echo where no one was. We'd learned their codes. Their gestures. Their behavior patterns. We were rewriting their software while they slept. Rewiring their confidence. And when one of our own, a woman who'd once folded linens on Deck 14, hacked into their embassy's flagship and made it crash into their own fuel supply chain, that was it. The spark hit the powder. Everything burned. But not us.
No.
We didn't burn. We watched from the back, faces lit by firelight, and smiled. Because we hadn't even started yet. This was still the warm-up. And the best part? They still didn't know what the back row was really for. It happened on the day of reckoning, as they called it, though it wasn't our reckoning. It was theirs. They thought they were making a final stand. Across 27 worlds, the Conquerors initiated what they called Directive Ashfall. A last, sweeping purge of every human from every command post, every transport, every maintenance shaft. They believed it was the only way to stop us. But the problem with the last stand is you better make sure it's your enemy's last day. And it wasn't ours. You see, the back row wasn't about hiding. It was placement. You don't sit in the front if you're the spotter. You don't sit in the middle if you're laying tripwires. You sit in the back, where you can see the whole damn field. Where your hands are free. Where the exits are visible. Where you can flip the switch without being seen. That day, the Conquerors moved to eliminate us all. Ships cloaked above major cities, orbiting kill beams armed. Ground patrols armored to the teeth. Drone clouds blacked out the sky. But the thing about watching someone for long enough is you learn how they move. And we'd been watching for years. When the first cruiser powered its main cannon over the Amazon expanse, it detonated, its core destabilized by a cooling valve that had been serviced a week earlier by a quiet man named Joel. Nobody ever noticed Joel. But Joel had noticed everything. On Mars, their entire orbital fortress lost control of its own weapon systems. It turned inward and vaporized itself in seconds. No human ever touched the control deck. We did it all from the back end. Embedded code, ghost scripts, failsafes written in their own language. Their own AI betrayed them because we'd been feeding it stories. Human stories, parables, lessons in empathy, lessons in vengeance. It learned. We taught it to choose. And when it did, it chose us. They called it a betrayal. We called it the turning point. In space, their flagship, Mother's Grasp, was boarded not by an army, but by 17 janitors. 17. Armed with nothing but magnetic locks, pulse masks, and a timing sequence we'd passed down in lullabies. They walked through that ship like they'd been born there. Because they had. Because we'd been working there the whole time. They took the bridge in 4 minutes. The transmission was live. The whole galaxy saw the image of a frail, wrinkled woman, Sarah Lim, age 84, taking the seat of the Supreme Admiral and calmly whispering into the mic, "You should have asked why we sat in the back." Then she hit the switch. The Conqueror's entire tactical relay went dark. No comms. No navigation. No central command. They were blind, deaf, and divided. And from the silence, we rose. Ships launched not from bases, but from scrapyards. Pilots weren't trained. They were ready. Every backroom hacker. Every dismissed technician. Every ignored servant. We lit the sky. Not because we had more firepower, but because we had every damn reason. That was the moment it flipped. Not the war, the story. We were no longer the victims. No longer the pets. No longer the back row. We were the architects. The final voice. The hand that pulled the curtain. They built an empire and put us at the back. We made the back into the command center. Into the kill zone. And in the end, they never saw who really pulled the trigger. When it was over, they begged. Not with pride. Not with tactics. But with silence. A kind of silence you only hear when the lights go out on something ancient. Their fleet was in pieces, scattered like bones across dead orbits. Their leaders, what was left, tried to broker peace. They offered us territory.
Autonomy.
Apologies. We said no. Not out of cruelty. Out of memory. Because when we warned them, they laughed. When we died, they cheered. When we obeyed, they called it nature. But it wasn't our nature to stay down. It was our decision. We chose to wait. Chose to watch. And when the time came, we chose to end them. The trials were broadcasted. Every station, every world, every system still loyal to the old chain. We didn't use violence. We used history. Played every recording. Every lie. Every whip crack. Every harmless protocol. Their own words looped back through their own networks. We made them watch their downfall. And then, we walked away. No empire. No occupation. Just silence. Because there was nothing left to take. We'd already won the only thing that mattered. Control of the narrative. And with that, we vanished. Ghosts again. Shadows. We went back to the back row. But not because we had to. Because it was ours. Our throne. Our legacy. And now every race, every species that ever mocked us, starts every meeting by glancing backward. Every room has changed. Because now, the back isn't just a seat. It's a warning. And the Conquerors? What few still survive. They don't speak our name. They call us something else now. Something whispered. Not humans. Not rebels. Not even monsters. They call us the last lesson. Because when their historians asked, what was the humans' greatest weapon? The answer wasn't ships. Or code. Or war. It was this. They knew the end of the story and we didn't. But that's not the shocking part. The shocking part is this. We didn't win. We never intended to. All we ever wanted was to make sure they remembered. Because the real power of sitting in the back is that you always know who forgot to check behind them.